I believe we have a moral obligation to help those at-risk Afghans to come out of Afghanistan. If confirmed, I commit to you to look at what options are available to be able to assist in that, Department of State.
Isn't that nice? We're still debating this. President Biden's pick to lead U.S. Central Command, promising to help Afghan allies left behind in Afghanistan as we learn new details of the botched withdrawal, and it's worse than anyone thought, I believe. An Army investigation report released to the Washington Post revealed, quote, senior White House and State Department officials failed to grasp the Taliban's steady advance on Afghanistan's capital and resisted efforts by U.S. military leaders to prepare the evacuation of embassy personnel and Afghan allies weeks before Kabul fell. Senator Tom Cotton served in Afghanistan. Senator, up until 3 days before Kabul fell, that's when Anthony Blinken said, we better pick up the timetable if we're going to empty our embassy. I mean, do you believe the ineptness that we witnessed?
Well, it'd be hard to believe, Brian, except we all saw it play out with our own eyes. That Army report is accurate. I can tell you in real time last year on both the Armed Services and Intelligence Committee, as we monitored what the Army was doing as well as what the CIA was doing, they foresaw that the security situation was deteriorating rapidly. They did a pretty good job of getting their own people out, but they were only responsible for their own people. It's the State Department that's responsible for all American citizens and green card holders and all those Afghans who served alongside of our troops for so long. And they obviously failed catastrophically. And that's why you saw the chaotic scenes in Kabul last August, why we had those service members killed by a suicide bomber, and why we left behind thousands of American citizens and green card holders and Afghans who served alongside us. The State Department still has no plan to help get them out. They mostly just want to sweep it under the rug so they can turn the page on what was a very dark chapter in our government's history.
We also learned about a skirmish between our Marines and Taliban, but I didn't really know about in those days. Remember, President Biden said for the longest time they weren't attacking us because they knew we were leaving? Oops.
Yeah, it's becoming increasingly clear that a lot of what Joe Biden and a lot of what Tony Blinken were saying in the run-up to the fall of Kabul, and even as Kabul was falling in its immediate aftermath, just simply was not telling the truth to the American people. It's trying to cover up for their gross mismanagement of that crisis.
Right, and there were people on the ground trying desperately to get in touch and get reality into them. And as McKenzie said in the report, everyone clearly saw the advantage of holding Bagram, but you cannot hold Bagram with the force level that was decided by the president. Oops, not my problem. It's great to be a general and not take responsibility. Meanwhile, the other story took place at the State Department, where the drama has taken place on many fronts, one of which is Iran. The integrity that we're selling out to ourselves as we desperately try to get them involved again in a nuclear arms deal. Here's Matt Lee sparring with Ned Price yesterday. And again, it got a little out of control because we're not getting the true story. Listen.
That long list of things that you said that these waivers give, you're saying that there's no benefit to Iran in any of that?
I am saying that the net benefit of this is a non-proliferation benefit for us. What is in our non-proliferation interest can also be in some ways in Iran's interest.
Do they get any benefit out of this or not?
It is some of these steps were down to their interest.
Do they get any benefit or not?
This is in our interest to do.
A nuclear waiver for Iran is in our interest?
Yeah, Brian, Ned Price can't defend Joe Biden's foreign policy because that foreign policy is indefensible. We gave nuclear waivers for Iran to continue work on its so-called civilian nuclear program without anything in return. I mean, truly, Brian, without a single concession in return. This is because Joe Biden is so desperate to re-enter the Iran nuclear deal that the Ayatollahs know that they can make unreasonable demands, and within a few weeks, Joe Biden's going to be agreeing to it. It's so bad, Brian, that members of Joe Biden's negotiating team are starting to resign in protest because he's giving away the store. This is exactly what happened in 2015 when Barack Obama and John Kerry were so desperate to get a deal that we started negotiating about a nuclear program. They ended up even lifting the conventional arms ban so Iran could start buying rockets and missiles and battle tanks in addition to racing towards a nuclear weapon. It's very dangerous for the United States that Joe Biden is so desperate and is projecting that desperation to the Ayatollahs.
Any deal has to be approved by the Senate by 2/3. Not only did Barack Obama not get 2/3, he didn't get Democrats, he didn't get Cardin, he didn't get Schumer, he didn't get Menendez in the last deal. This is going to be a worse deal. Republicans have to stop it. That's the reason why Donald Trump was able to rip it up because it never passed through the Senate. That's important. Real quick, you're also, go ahead, you want to weigh in?
I was going to say, that's right. That's exactly what I said to the Ayatollahs in my letter back in 2015. If the Senate doesn't ratify an international agreement like a nuclear arms control deal, then of course it won't be binding on future presidents or on the United States.
It was a year ago when the riots took over so many city streets and burned so many buildings and destroyed so many livelihoods, the Black Lives Matter rioters. And there was one in particular, a man was burned to death by one of them. Now, what has happened to that man thanks to the DOJ?
Well, this is a shocking development, Brian. Montez Lee burned a pawn shop to the ground. So he's guilty of arson. He's also guilty of murder because there was a man burned alive in that building, a father of 5. He was charged with arson in the federal courts. That carries a 20-year sentence. The Department of Justice, the United States Department of Justice, sought barely half that because they said he was participating in a peaceful riot, in a peaceful protest, that he was giving voice to the unheard, that his cause was righteous. It is completely inappropriate for the Department of Justice to be meting out criminal punishment based on their view of the criminal's political positions. I mean, this is not some crazy Soros prosecutor in San Francisco or New York or Los Angeles. This is the United States Department of Justice reducing sentences for an arsonist who killed a man because they liked the cause for which he was protesting when he committed that arson. This is outrageous. Merrick Garland and the Department of Justice needs to answer for it.
Yeah, I hope they do. Senator, thanks for pointing it out. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining us, Tom Cotton.
Thank you, Brian.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.